Hey, Shalom Yeshua, peace be into the nation of Israel. Humadamadi, they so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and speckled Israelites being the Israelite foreigners scattered across the four corners of the earth, including within America, Babylon the Great, the main place for our captivity, and we are the Most High, Yahweh's chosen people of the nation of Israel. So without further ado, as always, in Lash Kadash, meaning the Holy Tongue is in the Paleo Hebrew, meaning the ancient Hebrew, and we give all praises, glory, infinite honor to my power, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who is the God of the living, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Barash, meaning our praise to Heavenly Father Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, and the Holy Spirit, who is our strength and our Redeemer, and our light and our salvation. In the same tongue, of Adamashina Kapawadim Lahasakonium, Shal, Gadarawaka, meaning double honors to the apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone for teaching really well, and Shalom on salutations to Bayashadawadah, the house of David, of the one-third elect remnant of the nation of Israel, scattered across the four corners of the earth. Our fellow servant Malak Rayash, back at it again with another lesson through the spirit of prophecy, being a testimony of our Lord and Savior, Hamashiach Yahushai, who the master of the world ignorantly refers to Jesus Christ. We're going to check the video and audio real quick. All right, make sure everything is functioning properly. Video and audio real quick. All right. All right, so welcome to another edition of Global Events End Time Prophecy on the date of January 7, 2026, regarding it's centered around, the World War III algorithm. All right, they calculated, components of war through a geoeconomical standpoint, a geopolitical standpoint, military standpoint. All right, which will result in the collapse of the U.S. Economy and will justify the rulers of the darkness of this world, the wicked Zionist bankers, the biblical Amalekites, to justify ushering in the satanic, totalitarian, dystopian technocracy, okay, regulated through the MOTB infrastructure, okay, through artificial intelligence, okay, through the MOTB, which is the chip, right? Shalom to brother Mark Bar, Yahweh Shemish Abakata, Wata Wata for tuning in. All right, so I'm going to get started by playing a few videos and bringing out a few articles and filtering everything to biblical prophecy. And Adam Ratazah, meaning the Lord willing, is be further edifying and exhorting to elect. So I'm going to start off with the most recent breaking news regarding the whore America, Babylon the Great, seizing multiple oil ship tankers.
Graphically, that second ship
en route to Venezuela. All right. I'm just going to go and play this, play a few seconds of this news report on CBS. Fair use.
First, we start with the breaking news. The United States seizing multiple oil tankers linked to Venezuela. U.S. officials confirm the military seized the oil tanker formerly known as Bella One for violations of U.S. sanctions. Now, this comes after a weeks-long pursuit. And the U.S. has also seized a second oil tanker this morning, the Sophia. U.S. Southern Command posted this video of the seizure. I want to bring in CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata, who's here with some more information. So, Charlie, not just one. We had the breaking news this morning that there was one that was in the United States was in pursuit of. Now we learned that there's another ship that has been recently seized.
Yeah, so we have to paint the picture of where we are geographically. That second ship that we heard about, the Sophia, that was seized in the Caribbean, that Southern Command area of responsibility. And that is where essentially the blockade has been going on around Venezuela. The first ship that was seized, as you said, the United States, and we, for that matter, have been tracking this ship for a couple of weeks. The U.S. tried to interdict December 21st to try to get that. Then it was flying under Bella One, not a Russian tag, a flag, Guyana. Now, as it has been seized, it is sailing under a Russian flag now. That one, so it has been tracked, and it was tracked from Southern Command in that Caribbean area to where it is now, which is in the North Atlantic, somewhere off the coast of between the UK and Iceland. So that would have been European Command. So that's where European Command made that announcement, honestly, within the last hour, confirming the reports that we had already been tracking, that ship that they had been tracking now for weeks, it had evaded that, if you want to call it a blockade, some people call it that, others call it something else, evaded that blockade in the Caribbean region and got out to the North Atlantic, but it had been tracked all the way. And there have been reports, some of those open source intelligence reports, that there have been U.S. spy planes that have been seen operating in the region, the P-8 Poseidon. Now, this should be routine. You know, we have U.S. bases inside the UK or joint bases with the UK. So to see a sort of flurry of activity with C-17 cargo Globe Masters.
All right, so this Edomite is rambling on, but essentially, what CBS, ABC, and these other news outlets have reported on is that these U.S. military, the U.S. military, the HOR, America Babylon the Great, on behalf of the HOR, America Babylon the Great, has officially seized multiple Venezuela-linked oil tankers from Russia. Okay, which further angering, Russia over the fact that Russia and other BRICS Union members, mainly China, have openly ridiculed the HOR, America Babylon the Great, for capturing, the current Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro. All right, resulting in Trump, acknowledging and admitting through his recent proclamation that, the U.S. was going to run the country as in Venezuela, as well as control their oil infrastructure. He literally said that. So that further confirms that the war was never on narco terrorism through the war on drugs. Okay, that Esau's been hiding or masquerading his true intentions behind to justify invading Venezuela for his carnal aspirations of seizing the world's resources and precious minerals and through these particular foreign lands that he's been notorious for doing. All right. Which I'm gonna go ahead and play this next video. It's on the Elder Bishop NOPS platform, GMS ISAL 144. Subscribe and be edified. Which I'm gonna play this about a minute of this montage of videos of Trump, being pompous in his bold proclamation, declaration of war on these nations, to destroy them, that deters the U.S. regime. And this is why he's been pushing, he's been entertaining the idea of reenacting the Monroe Doctrine, which essentially, originates back to the Spanish-American War, where the U.S. Had enacted this Monroe Decree / policy known as the Monroe Doctrine to justify, regulating every component of of governance in the Western Hemisphere, without any criticism. Essentially, what the Monroe Doctrine goes into. So he's trying to reenact that, along with reinforcing the Seditions Act of 1798. All right, to further persecute those who poses the satanic NWO agenda that the HOR, America Babylon the Great, is using to enforce as a hammer of the earth, as is prophesied in Jeremiah 50 and 23. All right, this description of the biblical description of the HOR, America Babylon the Great, and the nation that's running it being the Edomites, further identifying the biblical Edomites as these self-proclaimed Caucasians or white people, mainly within the West, doing the dirty bidding of the Zionist bankers, the biblical Amalekites, which are the chief family of the nation Edom. So I'm gonna play this quick montage on the Elder Bishop NOPS platform, and bring out a few other articles and videos and censor everything and filter everything in biblical prophecy.
Okay, we're gonna kill them. They're gonna be like dead. Okay.
Right, he literally said that. That's not AI. He literally said that, man. There's another indication of the prophecy in Revelation 12 and 12 coming to pass, where the devil will come down with great wrath, knowing that he has but a short time. Why does he know that? Why does he feel? Why is he moving like? Why is Esau moving like he has a short time? Because he has been exposed, as the devil the Bible speaks of. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
America wants to bring liberty and freedom into another country. It's like the.
So this guy that's speaking is he's a modern day Elamite from the nation of Elam, a modern day East Indian. All right, and he's publicly ridiculing DJT, for these illegal land grabs, violating, or going against the wishes or opposing the Constitution. By not confirming or seeking permission through Congress, for these international, skirmishes through these rogue covert operations of infiltrating these foreign lands and seizing their resources and justifying doing so under the guise of narco terrorism and support about democracy and so forth. Essentially meaning that Esau is illegally invading these foreign countries and then justifying it under the guise of democracy. Okay, and these satanic devices to his politics and Western propaganda media that justifies the narratives of his wicked, nefarious satanic NWO agenda is being further exposed by even these other heathen nations. All right, including this Elamite, they're speaking on this Elamite network.
Devil preaching the scriptures.
Absolutely. There is
So this is the Elamite that really starts exposing, what Esau is doing. The one that's speaking now.
that standard American playbook. When they wanted a Saddam Hussein's oil, they wanted to grab Iraqi oil, they put out the familiar playbook that he was making.
Yeah, and Iraq is their top oil producing country. And Iran is actually top 5 oil producing country. So that's another reason why they're provoking Iran, to war. By under the guise of democracy, blaming them of they're supposedly destroying the people, and this is why. Excuse me. As of recently, it just came out that report on Fox News entitled "Iranian military leader threatens preemptive attack after Trump comments." Now, this is the head of Iran's military, all right, by the name of General Amir Hatami, who responded to DJT's threats, okay, of us interfering in Iran's regime over there, over those protests, over that 22-year-old Elamite woman that got put to death after she was apprehended for not wearing her hijab. So they've been protesting over there in Iran. So now here the horror, America Babylon the Great, goes interfering in other sovereign affairs of these foreign nations that doesn't pertain to them like they always do, like they're notorious for. And this time Iran, the Iranian military leader, the Iranian military chief, General Amir Hatami, responded by saying that the Islamic Republic considers the intensification of such rhetoric against the Iranian nation as a threat. It will not leave its continuation without a response. He added, "I can say with confidence that today the readiness of Iran's armed forces is far greater than before the war. If the enemy commits an error, it will face a more decisive response, and we will cut off the hand of any aggressor." So those are words of war, all right? Because there's this, that's a first fulfillment of Jeremiah 51, which says, the nations are mad because they've been made drunk off the wine of fornication. Okay, which is that Western philosophy, and they're tired of you devils dictating, looking to try to dictate their sovereign business with, through your democracy on behalf of your Western philosophy. So now they're refurbishing their swords. They're preparing for war through the military drills and so forth. All right. This is why, speaking of Iran, to bring this out real quick. Hey, Shalom. Yeah, 1 second. Damn, man, what the hell? Shot time to mess with this laptop, man. Hey, Shalom, the brother Yao Shop and the elder Yashawamba. Yahba Shemi Shabbarakatham, what the water for tuning in. So this is the brother the brother Yao Shop put up the precept I quoted, Jeremiah 15:23. You know what? Let's see if I can enlarge this. Man, this Esau, all the kind of damn updates. So I got to enlarge the screen. I don't know if you brothers can see the precepts and the minimize screen. It looks to be too small on mine. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll just enlarge it for now. This is Jeremiah 15:23. It got different like landscape options. And I was kind of pressed for time, so I really didn't really look to update all that, but Jeremiah 15:23 says, "How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken?" You see that? Fucking Satan, man. Give me 1 second. That's Slovakia. I don't know if you. Matter of fact, let me see. See if it could be seen. Yeah. Okay, so it is showing. Okay, I see it showing through the YouTube on my end. But anyway, Jeremiah 15:23 from the top says, "How is a hammer the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations because of the wine of fornication of West philosophy, man? How you devils have weaponized your Western philosophy to dictate the sovereign vision of these other nations, man, and they're fed up with it. So now they're furbishing the swords, as is prophesied in Ezekiel 21:9 on down. All right, set the water for that. So speaking of Iran, we bring this information out real quick. This is Iran had let me play this quick video. Right, the brother Arrows of Indignation. I'm not going to play the whole thing for now. Play the quick video, a few seconds. Maybe it's like still bad in this damn cough. Play about a minute of it regarding the 72-hour ultimatum. Actually, give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Iran had here it is. It's on Dabu 7. Night Stalkers move toward Iran. Huge explosion reported as protests grow. Right, the protests I just mentioned over the whole hijab situation over there in Iran.
This is Dabu 7, and it looks like we have a series of events here that are showing that a military operation is about to go down in regards to Iran. We know that Maduro has been captured, and things are kind of fluid with the whole Caribbean, and there's definitely going to be some blowback. Something's going to happen in response to all these moves. You can almost guarantee that. But one thing is for sure, Iran is calling for this right now. They're saying that they're expecting the U.S. and Israel to hit them here within the next 72 hours or so. You can see right here, multiple headlines. They're preparing for a new wave of American-Israeli attacks in the region. And a lot of signs are pointing that way. Another big clue or hint that this is going down is there's been an onslaught of military assets heading across the ocean and into the region, into the area. A ton left out of Fort Campbell here in Kentucky, and the Night Stalkers that were conducting the whole Maduro raid, they are now heading toward Iran. So we have a wave of C-17s. We've got the Night Stalkers in motion. Many that are connected to the military say, man, you're only making moves like this if something's about to go down. It looks like indeed something's about to happen. Big time here. Signals all over the place. Plus, we have huge explosions that have already started inside of Iran. You can see on the right, that is the first explosion that happened today. All the talk around that was sabotage, and they're not sure what caused it. And here within the past 5 minutes, a secondary explosion, a massive explosion, has been reported inside of Iran. So we've got these explosions going off with massive protests on the ground that we know our government is backing and supporting, per se, color revolution, and to cause chaos to try to oust Khomeini and to basically overthrow the power structure in Iran. We've seen it coming for a long time. It looks like they're actually gearing up for another wave here. And this may be more drawn out and larger than the last series of events that we've seen that just struck a couple spots and then they were done. They were like, we took out their nuclear capability, which checked out to not be true. So the targets yet to be seen. One thing's for sure, though, everything's in motion and it's going down here in terms of this. I'd expect big moves from here. Join me for the live stream going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Dabu 77.
Yeah, so Esau losing his goddamn mind, man. He's on a rampage. And that just lines up Revelation 12:12. Once again, how the devil's coming down great wrath, knowing that he has but a short time. And he's and people, including the political officials and journalists and and people in general, these other nations, even in America, are taking notice of Esau, through by becoming privy to his satanic devices. All right, including this woman. All right, this preschool teacher in Michigan that got arrested on national TV for protests against the whole Nicholas Maduro capture, which I'll get into momentarily. All right, why? Because as it says in Job 20:27, the world will rise up against you, man. Okay, why? Because you devils are being exposed. Jeremiah 49:10 speaks about how Esau will be made bare. You are being exposed for being the devil the Bible speaks of. As it says in St. John 10:10, the devil came to steal, murder, destroy. And there's always been your modus operandi, your track record. So I'm play a few more seconds of this video on the Elder Bishop on Knox channel. Then I'm going to segue over to this other article and just bring out some more precepts.
Weapons of mass destruction. He was vilified, he was demonized, and then we all know what happened.
He's talking about Saddam Hussein, who was a U.S. insider that Esau of America was in cahoots with during 1988 in their alliance to overthrow Iran. So now when they got done using him, just like they got done using Manuel Noriega of Panama, they threw both of them under the bus. Okay, I believe they did the same thing with Maduro. I think Maduro is also an insider because there's an image of him throwing up the Vesica Pisces, which is a Freemasonic hand gesture. So I believe this nigga was a insider too, and he got too big for his britches, and Esau clipped his wings, so to say. So I believe Maduro got that Manuel Noriega treatment, just like Saddam Hussein that this Elamite is speaking about.
To him, he was hung, tortured and hung. Right? The Americans always choose weak targets. Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq, Venezuela. Let's see them doing it to military peer group countries like Russia or China, and in their own backyard.
Well, according to that report from Dabu, that night stalking crew, that night stalking military crew, all right, within the time of the capture, Maduro is reportedly, en route to Iran. Okay, they're afraid to provoke Iran. So Esau is more bold than this Elamite thinks, and that just lines up with Revelation 12:12 because he doesn't have very much time left, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and segue over to this quick article, bring a little bit more of this information out, and then bring out some more precepts. So this is on Newsweek, entitled "Greenland, Colombia, Cuba, where is Donald Trump eyeing up next?" Says, following the stunning extraction of Nicolas Maduro from Venezuela, DJT has suggested the U.S. could take military action against other countries in Latin America or even Europe. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. It says the U.S. president has threatened Colombia and a sick man, quote unquote, president Gustavo Petro, warning Mexico's leaders to get their act together, and said Cuba's ready to fall. So he is encryptedly, suggesting that the U.S. is also planning to invade Colombia and Mexico and Cuba under the guise of the war of narco-terrorism, fighting aka the war on drugs, which Trump just came out and contradicted that whole sentiment of supposedly being or infiltrating Venezuela because of the so-called war on drugs by acknowledging that Esau's over there to take over the oil infrastructure of Venezuela. Okay, and he made that statement following the statement of saying we would take over the country. So, hey, man, like it says in Psalm 64:8, their tongue shall befall them. Okay, Job 15 chapter, Job 15 verses 5-6. Their own tongue uttered their own iniquity. Roughly paraphrasing. That's what happens when you tell so many damn lies. You gotta keep up with those lies, man. And, that's what further confirms that Esau's a forked tongue. He has plenty of guile in his mouth. The more he talks, the more he exposes himself. So it says he's told Iran that America is locked and loaded and ready to rescue peaceful protesters against the regime. Okay, what about this peaceful protester? What about this peaceful protester? Okay, how come you couldn't keep the same energy with her? We're going to play this quick video. I'm not going to play the whole thing. What about this peaceful protester in the U.S.? Why are you so focused on sovereign affairs of other countries except for your own affairs back home, because you're a hypocrite, man.
We have to apply pressure at all points that we can. This is not just a foreign issue. It's our tax dollars that are also being used to commit these war crimes. It is also the duty of us, the people, to stand against the Trump regime, the Trump administration, that are committing crimes both here in the U.S. and against people in Venezuela.
Now, in the background of this interview, you could see that police car, and now right here we're showing you video we have. Immediately after the interview finished, Plichta was arrested by 2 Grand Rapids police officers. You can see it in the video, and an officer tells Plichta that she is being arrested for obstructing a roadway and failure to obey a lawful command from a police officer. You can see as she's taken away in that car, she was issuing a number of messages about wanting the U.S. to free Maduro. But again, she was taken away by police officers there. And you can see in this video, officers were closely following this procession in downtown Grand Rapids. We have reached out to GRPD for more information about the arrest, but we have not heard back so far.
And we're working to learn more about what led up to the arrest of a protest organizer over the weekend.
You can watch the rest of that video.
This is not just in a foreign...
So this is a preschool teacher by the name of Jessica Plichta, I believe her name is, out there in Grand Rapids, Michigan. She got arrested for exercising her First Amendment right, and she got arrested by Esau, man, and America Babylon the Great. But yet Esau is worrying about these Elamites in Iran doing the same thing that she was doing, and threatening to enact force on Elam over there in Iran, okay, for against protesters, okay, or for harming, or if they harm the protesters over there in Iran. But what about this one? You essentially just harmed her, man. What if she has children? What if she's a single mother? And what if it's a scenario of you devils apprehended for a long, extensive amount of time, and she has nobody to care for her, her children, you just essentially cause harm to her, man. So you devils are hypocrites. All right. This is go to get this quick precept in the book of Job 20 and start at verse 4. Job chapter 20. Let me type it in, man. Job chapter 20 and verse 4. And it reads, knowing now not this of old, since man was placed upon earth. Here's a point in verse 5. It says that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. Okay, why you devils hypocrites? Because of what it says in Isaiah 5 and 20. Okay. Grab that real quick. Isaiah 5 and 20. All right, and it says, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Now, darkness is symbolic of iniquity, laid in sin, or compound sin, sin upon sin, that has become the standard of living in America, Babylon the Great, that you devils have proclaimed to be sweet or of the light, okay, which is symbolic of righteousness, okay. Another reason why in 2 Corinthians 11:14 speaks about Satan transforming himself into the angel of light. You devils are the physical manifestation of the spiritual demon Shaitan. Okay, so you are his bidders of wickedness on the earth, and you're being exposed for your wickedness that you proclaim to be righteousness. Okay, including invading lands that don't belong to you. Isn't America supposed to be a God-fearing country? But what does it say in the law about land grabs? Deuteronomy 19:14. Let's get that real quick. All right. Deuteronomy 19:14 says, thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thine inheritance, which thou shalt inherit in a land that the Lord Yahweh by Shemesh Shah power giveth thee to possess. Now this more so pertains to Jake, all right, regarding the land of Jerusalem, the land of milk and honey. Well, but in a modern day sense, being that America is supposedly a God-fearing country, it's a pro-Christian country, just like Russia. Why is it it says in Psalm 50 and 16 to verse 17, What is that to do to declare my statutes? Thou shalt rebel more and more. You don't give a damn about the law, statutes, commandments of Yahweh by Shem Yashai, but yet you use the idea of the Most High God, Yahweh, all right, to justify your wickedness. And this was for exposing your hypocrisy. All right. So this is let me go ahead and segue over to Sirach 12 and 16. And he reads, "An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit." All right, which is symbolic of death and destruction, just like the Hebrew word for hell, I believe, sha'al or shawa'al, means grave or pit, symbolic of death and destruction. It says, "He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood." Esau has a insatiable appetite for shedding blood, man. Okay, and the secular history of shedding the blood of the saints, the Israelites, so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, Indians, Israelite foreigners, is a prime example of that, especially during the secular history of the Spanish Inquisition, of you devils butchering, sadistically butchering the Northern Kingdom, and making a sport out of that heinous, sadistic, wicked butchering, man. Okay, Further confirms you are the physical manifestation of the spiritual demon Shaitan. All right. So the same means of how you have inherited, all right, the delicate abundances of America, Babylon the Great, from the true founding fathers of the indigenous of the Northern Kingdom. You're doing the same thing with these other nations. That's why I believe it was a Chinese national a few years ago exposed Fred, called you devils out for what you did to the natives, man, for the Northern Kingdom. This is Sirach 12 and 17. It says, "If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee." You see, like it says in Psalm 55 and 21, he speaks smooth words like butter, but hides war under his tongue. That's why the late great Native American activist Russell Means of the tribe of Gad had pointed out how the white man has no soul because he's a fork tongue, man. He'll say one thing and then do another. Okay, because ironically, Esau believes in a mindset of do as I say and not as I do. You see, but ironically, it's what he's doing that's compromised what he's saying, because he's a hypocrite. Okay, that's why you devils are not fit to rule this earth, because you're destroying the earth. All right, let me get that real quick. Revelation 11 and 18. I'll bring us some more articles. This is Revelation 11 and 18. "And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth." Okay, so the nations are mad, man. Okay, the nations were angry, rather, as it says in the beginning of the verse. And that lines up with Jeremiah 59, how the kings of the east are going to rise against you, man. Okay, within the northeastern hemisphere of the world, i.e., the BRICS Union, North Korea, the dragons of Arabia, okay, the nations of Ishmael, Elam, okay, the respective tribes of the Arabs and the Persians and so forth, they're banding together, okay, and identifying you devils as a common denominator of the world's catastrophe and mayhem and destruction, okay, because you have this covetous mindset that everything belongs to you. All right. And this is what is pissing these nations off. It's making them angry. It said in the beginning of the verse. All right. Jeremiah 51, start at verse 6. And it reads, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. For this is the time of the Lord, Yahweh by Shem Yashai's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense." Okay. So this is a warning for the elect of Israel to flee out of the midst of Babylon. Not carnally flee out of Babylon like Bubble Eyes Blackfish, so-called Elder Rakah at GOCC had taught some years ago. Okay, but actually flee out of the midst of Babylon spiritually, unconform one's mind from the world that was given to the hands of the wicked. Because Yahweh Shem Yashai is angry with the wicked every day, and he's visiting this earth with plagues, man. Okay. All right, i.e. famine, pestilence, war. So this is why America is going to receive overkill. So this is not the time to be complacent with the affairs of this life that chokes the word and makes it unfruitful, because Yahweh Shem Yeshua is making serious moves, man, to deliver the elect out of this place very soon. All right. So everyone not covered by the blood of the Lamb is going to be caught up in the Lord's indignation through these plagues. Right, this is Jeremiah 51:7. It says, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yeshua's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. And that's the wine of fornication. That's why they're angry. That you devils keep interfering in their sovereign affairs, man. Okay? All right? Because who gives you the right to do that? All right? You giving yourself that right. All right? So this is Jeremiah. Actually, you know what? Let me segue with Habakkuk. All right. Habakkuk 2 and start at verse 5. All right. And it reads, Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. But gathered into him all nations, and heaping into him all people. Why can't the devil be satisfied? Because he's a vagabond. He doesn't have a true home, man. Okay. He stole America, Babylon the Great, but, named it America. Okay. That's why Texas was formerly known as Tejas. Okay. Which is like a broken Hebrew. All right. So he further confirms that the natives spoke Hebrew, such as a Algonquin dialect of broken Hebrew, so forth. Esau took over all of that. Okay. Just like he's looking to embark on these other land grabs through Greenland, Colombia, you know what I'm saying, Cuba, Iran. And speaking of Greenland, you had this devil, Stephen Miller, came out and make a recent comment, where he said the U.S. has the right to claim Greenland, stating no one would military oppose it. Because that's that goes into the ham of the earth we brought out in Jeremiah 15:23. Okay, that the Spirit brought out in Jeremiah 15:23, the brother put on the comment board. Stephen Miller went on to say, linking U.S. strength to NATO's power, okay, and arguing for acquisition due to Trump's territorial ambitions after Venezuela actions. Suggesting the U.S. operates in a world governed by power and strength, a stance criticized by European leaders who defend Greenland's territorial integrity and warn it could destabilize NATO. Speaking of that, Elder Apostle Hard just put up uploaded a recent video, okay, of Denmark, okay, who governs Denmark. Who governs Greenland, rather, Slovakia, just come out and oppose, Esau's aspirations to take Greenland from their NATO counterpart Denmark. So the other Apostle Hart put up this video a day ago entitled "Denmark Says NATO Will End If Trump Attacks Greenland." So that goes into Revelation 17:16, man. How the beast shall burn the whore. Okay, the beast representing the European conglomerate support of America, the whore. Okay, mainly on behalf of NATO. And they're at odds, okay, over sovereign indifferences, man. By the weaponization of Esau's petrodollar and his military industrial complex. That's why he's been stealing oil. He's been destroying these oil tankers, Venezuela, seizing oil ship tankers. Why? Because the control of oil, okay. The control of oil is very significant on the currency flow and the price of metals. All right, and this is why I'm going to play this quick video on Dabu. It's entitled "Copper Sold Out Everywhere. Inventory Hits Critical Zero." I'm not going to play it actually for the second time, but it goes on to say many sites showing it as out of stock. And this is why the price of gold and silver is exponentially at its highest, man. So this further confirms that this U.S. economic collapse is going to be worse than the time of the Great Depression around World War I in the 1920s, man, around 1929. All right. So go back to Habakkuk 2 and 6. It says, read verse 5 again, Salakia. All right, it says, Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keep it at home, who enlargeth his desires hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. But gathered into him all nations, and heaped into him all people. Okay. Verse 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And the Hebrew word for clay is abatyat, right? Meaning going into heavy debt. That's why when you observe the global debt clock and focus on America, the U.S. economy is well over $39 trillion in debt. Okay, and that's all orchestrated. Okay, through that petrodollar, is you can to be utilized as a death note. Okay, by the Fed on behalf of the wicked Zionist bankers, the biblical Amalekites, to purposely orchestrate the collapse of this current monetary system and transition over to this totalitarian dystopian technocracy where everyone's lives is regulated through that MOTB, that chip. Speaking of chip, this is reported on Fox News. As soon as this loads up, Shaitan don't want this coming out, so bear with me. It says Elon shares plan to mass produce brain implants for paralysis neurological disease, which I touched on yesterday. Okay, so he's looking to increase more of these human trials of these brain implants, man. Okay, that's why within
this holiday season you can spend less on experiences that bring your family together. AAA members save an average of
Salakia, see that? But another distraction. Anyway, that's why similar, company on behalf of OpenAI by Sam Altman has been also doing a lot of human trials. This is how Esau started furbishing his sword. His sword is an instrument of death. All right, including the MOTB. Okay, including his mighty sword through his through his weapons of mass destruction, his firearms, his drones. Because this devil was created to remove peace from the earth, with his blessing being his sword. This is prophesied in Revelation 6:4. And this is what has further identified him, man. Okay, at the expense of many lives, he wants to rule the entire earth because he's a madman. Okay, so our scriptures say, if the Lord would not speed up these times, there would be any flesh to be saved, man. All right, in St. Matthew 24 chapter. Slakia. So this is back in Habakkuk 2. Okay, so this thick clay, this debt, this heavy debt is going to eventually lead into this economic collapse. And this is how this devil is going to justify rolling out the chip. All right. And then that's the next major prophecy in Revelation 13, verses 16 and 17. All right, the MOTB. And right after that, the Battle of Armageddon, modern day World War III, is going to commence, man. All right. And that's going to be used, and the fire, the nuclear fire produced from that war is going to be the penalty for those who take that chip, to bathe in that lake of fire, that second death. Habakkuk 2 and 7. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties into them, meaning spoils of war. All right. All right. That's the fate of you Edomites. That's why you Amalekites going to be hiding underground like the cowards you are. All right. Habakkuk 2 and 8. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. All right, verse 9 says, woe to him that coveted an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. All right, you're not going to be delivered from the power of evil. Isaiah 13:11 speaks about how the Lord is going to destroy. He's going to destroy the pride of the arrogancy. Let me get there real quick to avoid butchering it. All right, Isaiah 13 and 11. All right, and I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. So you definitely going to fall, man. You are the epitome of pride and pompous haughtiness. Okay, by way of your God complex, predicated off of Edomite supremacy at the expense of many lives, man. That's not God-like. That's not quote unquote Christ-like. So that further confirms that America, the whole theme of America being a so-called God-fearing country was always a farce, man. That's what Fred exposing you to be a hypocrite. All right. Even Yuval Noah Harari said we don't need the idea of God anymore. He's speaking great blasphemy against the heavens, as it says in Psalm 73:9. That's the track record. That's of you devils, man. So Habakkuk 2:10. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house for cutting off many people, and has sinned against thy soul. Even in Venezuela, when you devils were blowing up all them boats supposedly because they were carrying drugs, a lot of so-called innocent civilians were put to death. Now we know Job 4:7 says, "Who shall perish be innocent?" Okay, but according to you devils, you playing global humanitarian. You so fixated on what's going on over Iran, over them so-called innocent Iranian protesters. How come you didn't have the same sentiment towards those people you put to death in Venezuela? At the expense of their lives to steal their oil, and then claim that you're over there for their best interests to run the country, righteously. You see, so you being exposed, man. All right, this is matter of fact, let me get this quick precept. Proverbs 27. Proverbs 27, start at verse 20. And it reads, hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied. Read that again. Hell and destruction are never full. Meaning, once again, hell is symbolic of the grave, pit, death, and destruction, right? Hell and destruction are never full, right? Because there's more, the wage of sin is death, and the gift of life is eternal through Hamashiach Yahushua, Lord. And there's only a small remnant of Yasharallah covered by the blood of Yahushua that would even care to even seek righteousness and fight for it. So that's why hell and destruction are never full. Meaning what? The grave is never full. People are always dying through iniquity by abiding in Esau's satanic counsel. Hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied. Okay? Because they've developed that false perception of living through pleasing the flesh that America promotes. Proverbs 27:21. As a finding pot for silver and the furnace for gold, so is a man to his praise. All right? It's all about abundant treasures here. Okay? As opposed to the spiritual treasures, we're supposed to be storing up in our spiritual bank account. And in the spiritual realm, as it says in St. Matthew 6:19. It's Proverbs 27:22. Though thou shouldest bray a fool in a mortar among wheat with a pestle, yet will not his foolishness depart from him. Slakia. Jump down to verse 27. Proverbs 27 and 27 says, and thou shall have goat's milk enough for thy food, for the food of thy household, and for the maintenance for thy maidens. You should be content in what you have. You have your necessities. That should be the end all be all, right? That's not in the mind of this covetous niggard Esau Edom. A niggard means a stingy, covetous person. Okay, and Esau's the epitome of that, man. He can't have enough. That lines up with Habakkuk 2:5, how he's not a keeper at home, man. Okay, the devil has his hands in everyone's cookie jar, so to say. Okay, and this is why it's on Newsbreak. Trump says military operation in Colombia sounds good to me. Says Colombia is run by a sick man. He's not going to be doing it very long. See that? It's on Zero Hedge. It's entitled U.S. mainstream media had prior knowledge of Trump's Venezuela assault, but withheld coverage. Why? Because, America, Babylon the Great, this beast system is, the corrupt, tyrannical empire that is biblically identified as a sinful kingdom because of that. All right. So they're not over there in Venezuela, case in point, for the best interests of the Venezuelan citizens, but rather their own carnal aspirations of seizing the oil, gold and other precious minerals and resources. It says the two largest U.S. newspapers learned in advance of the secret U.S. raid to abduct Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, but chose not to publish what they knew to avoid endangering U.S. troops. Semaphore reported on January 4th, citing two people familiar with the matter. Despite their hostility toward U.S. President DJT regarding domestic issues, the New York Times and Washington Post cooperated with his administration ahead of the operation to attack Venezuela. See? All right. So and the reason why these U.S. media outlets, okay, are restricted in what they can report is because they're part of the 96. They're part of the global media outlets of the 96 within that makes up the approximate 96% of global media outlets that Amalek runs. So that means that they control the narratives of the information that's pushed out there and broadcasted. That's why a lot of people are oblivious, because they're kept in the dark. All right. It says U.S. forces deployed more than 150 aircraft to eliminate air defenses, clearing the way for helicopters to insert troops, who then moved on to President Maduro's location. After Maduro and his wife were abducted, Trump and top administration officials praised the operation, citing both the lack of U.S. casualties and the total secrecy surrounding it, including from the media. See, this is a comments by the Pentagon chief Pete Hegseth. Said the coordination, the stealth, the precision, the very long arm of American justice, all on display in the middle of the night. Now, the key word there is stealth. Okay, discretion. That's why the Zionist bankers, otherwise known as the shadow government, they're really the ones that are behind this. Okay. Matter of fact, we're gonna get that precept. St. James. Start from the top. St. James 5. Salakia. Give me 1 second. All right, Salakia. Back in St. James 5 and 1 says, "Go to now, you rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten." Here's a point in verse 3. "Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rest of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as with fire. Ye have heaped treasures together for the last days." Why? Because of the value of this fraction reserve greenback dollar system, aka the dollar bill through the petrodollar. Okay, it's further depreciating in value, man. All right, look at this word canker real quick. All right, St. James 5 and 3. Get the word cankered there. And then that's the entry G2728. All right.
Strong's G2728. Katiao. Katiao.
There's the Greek word. There's a Greek word, a Greek or Latin word, katiao, for cankered. All right. Which means to rust over, cover with rust, to be corroded. See that? To corrode. Okay. And that's another reason why Isaiah 47:1 speaks about the virgins out of Babylon going and, being cast down into dust, to oblivion, to nothing. Okay. All right. Because of, it says in Sirach 10 and 8, by riches gotten by deceit, the kingdom shall be translated from one to another. All right. And it's really the meek, the elect of Israel. Okay. Because once again, you devils have weaponized this petrodollar, man. And this is why they've been targeting these. Another reason they've been targeting these foreign leaders, such as Gaddafi, okay, of Libya, that tried to oppose the petrodollar, okay, through the gold-backed dinar, and they assassinated him through the CIA. And then even in America, Babylon the Great with JFK, all right, around 1963, JFK passed his executive order known as, I believe it was Executive Order 11110, and it was basically to permit the U.S. Treasury to print their own independent currency through silver certificates outside of the petrodollar. All right, and then Amalek caught wind of that and assassinated him. This is how important the petrodollar is in the grand scheme of things, because they still have use for it until the value of it is so depreciated, until they can finally justify shutting down this current monetary system, and once again ushering in this new totalitarian dystopian technocracy, man. And they're doing it through war, because war is big business. Okay, just like it was in World War I, World War II, it's going to be in this third woe, prophesied in Revelation 11 and 14. And this is how they're going to justify rolling out the next major prophecy, which is that MOTB, that chip. All right. So let me see. Let's go back. Let's segue over to this article now. It's on zerohedge.com. It says confusion as sporadic gunfire erupts near Venezuela's presidential palace soon after Rodriguez sworn in. A mere hours after widespread American mainstream media reports named Maduro's staunchly loyal Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, a CIA U.S. military informer who cooperated with the Trump-ordered invasion, which ousted and kidnapped the country's sitting head of state to U.S. soil, there are reports of heavy gunfire engulfing the Venezuelan capital near the presidential palace, though there are conflicting reports. Now, what's very interesting about this report is that gunfire broke out at the Venezuelan presidential palace after the new interim president was announced. It says, give me 1 second. Get a quick drink of my Yanni. So like you said, CNN is confirming that something that we don't know exactly what is going down, somewhat to be expected after an apparent coup supported by U.S. military invasion. It says gunfire heard near Venezuelan presidential palace. Gunfire was heard in the Venezuelan capital, Caracas, on Monday night near the Miraflores presidential palace. Videos geolocated by CNN show what appear to be lights from drones and anti-aircraft fire across the night sky. It's unclear what the situation is related to. CNN has reached out to Venezuela's ministries of communication and foreign affairs for more information. Now, here's a point I want to really focus on. All right, let me jump down and find it. Let me see. Where the hell? Here, yeah, this is like I already read it. Here's a part I want to focus on. It says, a mere hours after widespread American mainstream media reports named Maduro's staunchly loyal Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, a CIA U.S. military informer who cooperated with the Trump-ordered invasion, which ousted and kidnapped the country's sitting head of state to U.S. soil, which talking about Maduro because he's now in New York, okay, in the same penitentiary as Diddy and Luigi Mangione, who put to death that healthcare CEO. From America, Babylon the Great is a big clown show. Now, part I want to focus on is that the new interim Venezuelan president Delcy Rodriguez has been identified as a CIA U.S. military informer, which means it appears that Esau has selected his puppet of choice. Okay, which ironically is a woman. It just reminds me of Genesis 3, how the woman was easier to manipulate by the spirit of the serpent that dwells in Esau, Edom, than it was to manipulate Adam. So it's not a coincidence they got a woman do a man's job, man's dirty work. Esau's a coward. All right. So that's the main part I want to focus on. This further confirms that this whole beast system is corrupt, man. This is what they do. They take over these lands. Okay, they try to, if they can't eliminate the leaders of those foreign lands, the next step is to demonize them. Okay, or if they can't eliminate them, whether they can or not, they still conspire or plot to remove them from authority and replace them with their own controlled opposition. Okay, just like they tried to do Maduro years ago. They've been trying to with Juan Guaido, who was a terror. They've been trying to assassinate Maduro for years. Remember, about 10 years ago, Esau tried to assassinate Maduro with a drone attack, and they replaced him with Juan Guaido, and it failed. Now they were able to officially, abduct him, being that they couldn't assassinate him. And this is why, speaking of coups, they tried. They also recently failed with another coup attempt over there in Nigeria. Excuse me, over there in Burkina Faso. Okay, on behalf of Ibrahim Traore. because he's opposing the satanic NWO agenda as well, and they want the gold over there in Burkina Faso and the surrounding areas. That's the real reason why Trump carried out a bomb attack on Nigeria, to incite fear in the people in Burkina Faso and to further infiltrate the areas around Burkina Faso so they can plan to they could continue to try to officially carry out a successful coup over there in Burkina Faso, man. Further lines back up with Habakkuk 2:5, how he is not a keeper at home, and that's how he enlarges his desires hell. Because Esau's a vagabond just like his forefather Cain is, man. So let me see. Yep, Russia slams U.S. operation to capture Maduro. Very concerning. Yep. Speaking of which, it's on Politico. It's entitled, Trump says we'll get Greenland one way or another. And Stephen Miller just echoed the same sentiment. I'll read that again, okay? This is what one of the top advisors of the U.S. to Stephen Miller said. Okay, proclaiming the right of the U.S. to claim territories such as Greenland, arguing it should be a part of the U.S. due to America's power within NATO. And they also want to, Trump also, hinted at looking to incorporate Canada, their neighbor Canada, as a part of as the 51st state in America, Babylon the Great. So the devil is just on a rampage, man. Okay, and his profane, vile nature is further exposing him in these last days. This is why he's coming down great wrath. All right. North Korea, let me get this quick article. It's on Newsbreak. North Korea condemns U.S. strikes in Venezuela as severe violation of sovereignty, calls it a threat to regional stability, accusing Washington of rogue behavior. And this is why, shortly after Maduro's capture by the U.S., North Korea, held a military drill as a show of force against America, as if to say, if you even think about infiltrating our country like you did Venezuela, be reminded that North Korea, is a thermonuclear capable country, along with Pakistan, Russia, China. That's why that Elamite on the video play on Elder Bishop Anop's channel, had mentioned how, hey man, America is always known to prey on weak targets, but now you're gonna meet your match with Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and these other dragons of Arabia, man. And because people, hey, this is why. Speaking of that, it's on Newsbreak entitled "China Flexes Hypersonic Missile in New Military Drills." All right. We need to read no more to understand why they held those drills. Same reason why North Korea held their drills. Okay. This is on Newsbreak. Reporter on Newsbreak says Putin's unstoppable missile seen deployed in Belarus, where it can hit London in 8 minutes as peace talks hang by a thread. In London, on behalf of the UK, is the mother of the whore America, Babylon the Great. So these, once again, this further confirms that pursuing Revelation 18 and 20 to 21 speaks about America, Babylon the Great being destroyed in just 1 hour, man. By way of the capability of these intercontinental ballistic missiles traveling top hypersonic Mach speeds, which would be able to reach America in 20 minutes to 30 minutes. See, and that aligns with the prophecy how America, Babylon the Great will be destroyed in just 1 hour. Okay. In Revelation 18, 20 on down, man. All right. So all right, let's get back to the precepts. Yeah, this is back in St. James. Let me finish that off. St. James 5 and 4. It reads, "Behold, I hired the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Adawan, Lord of Sabaoth," meaning the Lord of the armies, which is Yahushai. It's another alias or title of Hamashiach Yahushai, the Messiah. Okay. So he's going to avenge us for all the wickedness you devils have inflicted upon us, man, including seizing our resources, which is wicked, according to Deuteronomy 19:14. Okay. Even during the so-called Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in 1921, we weren't bothering you devils. With a few decades, fresh out of chattel slavery, Jake was thriving. You devils couldn't stand that because you're envious of us, man. You can't stand it. That's why you didn't allow us to read in slavery, because we put the brains with the brawn, we would demolish you goddamn devils, man. Okay? So now we're finally starting to see the crumbling of America, Babylon the Great, the main place for captivity. And it's Yapah, man. It's meaning beautiful. It is a wonderful thing to see the downfall of you devils. All right? Let's go into Sirach 25:7. It's one of many things that brings you light to the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashim Shai, is the downfall of his enemies. Okay? Because he reaped down our fields, i.e. the cotton fields, sugar fields, tobacco fields. You stole the gold from Gad and the other indigenous tribes and had the audacity to throw them into gold mining. There's another example of you reaping down our fields, man, kept back by fraud, by you. Okay? You, the covetous niggard, Esau, Edom. Okay? St. James 5:5. Ye have lived in pleasure on the earth and have been wanton. Ye have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. Anyway, you're fattening yourself just to fall harder, man. That lines with Job 20. Okay, it speaks about how just when you seek to fill your belly, that's when Yahweh Ba'ashim Shai is going to rain upon you. He's going to disappoint you, and cast you down. All right, as it says in Psalm 17:13, because you are the destroyers of the earth. Because you are the walking virus of the earth, man, the walking disease. Okay, the physician, Yahweh Shai, is going to get rid of, in Sirach 10:10. This is St. James 5:6 says, ye have condemned and killed the just, and you do not resist it. That lines with the curse in Deuteronomy 28, man. All right. You would seize our children. It's at Deuteronomy 28:32 and verse 41. You would seize our children, and we wouldn't have any might in our hands to do anything about it. Putting them in these scholastic school systems, aka full systems, indoctrinating them with your Edomite curriculum, such as Cristobal Colon, the true identity of Christopher Columbus, supposedly discovering America, Babylon the Great. Okay, when the indigenous were here before these devils came over here. Okay. All right, the pilgrims, the aka Puritans, on behalf of Esau, supposedly sang Kumbaya with the natives in the Northern Kingdom, and they had a great Thanksgiving feast. When during that time, around 1621, that's when the Pequot slaughter happened to the Pequot Indians of the tribe of Gad. And there's countless examples of you devils condemning and killing our people, and we have no power to do anything about it, to resist you, because one of the curses. And part of being under curses in Deuteronomy 28:43 is that we would come down very low and you come up very high, and we have to run to you in want of all things for food, water, and raiment. It says in Deuteronomy 28:48 on down. So you devils have a lot to pay for, man. All right. St. James 5:7 says, be patient, therefore, brethren, until the coming of the Lord, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Ba'ashim Shai. Behold, the husbandman waited for the precious fruit of the earth, which is the first fruits in Revelation the 14th chapter, the elect, and had long patience for it until he received the early and latter rain. Okay, you devils not going to escape from what's coming to you, man. Okay, get that in Isaiah 47. See if I got Hey man, people haven't been able to resist you. And this is why even with this whole Venezuelan thing, you've been causing a lot of division. Speaking of people not being able to resist you, even on a psychological level, Jake doesn't have the spiritual mental capacity to resist you because they've been psychologically conditioned to worship you and your idols. As it goes into in Jeremiah 5:19. All right. All right. This is why the tribe of Asher, them Asherites over there in Venezuela, they're predominantly Asher that are protesting against Maduro. Okay. carrying out uh, these pro-American, protesters supporting the U.S.'s invasion of Venezuela to capture the leader Maduro has been justified by a lot of those Asherites over there. And I said some of them are terrorists, but but that's Jake behavior right there, man. Jake is very docile and sottish, meaning stupid, because they suffer by way of what's known as Stockholm syndrome, okay, which is a psychological conditioning of developing love for the slave master over the many or the many years of colonization and indoctrination by way of Esau's Edomite curriculum. So a lot of them Northern Kingdom Jakes think they're Edomites, even if they're darker, even if they're like melanated, such as myself. That's why, hey man, you look up Issachar, what Issachar looked like. Okay, centuries ago, they were as dark as me, if they were as melanated as I am, if not more melanated, meaning darker. See, and that's another part of Esau's wine that part of the likeness of his image. Okay, all right, everything a part of his wickedness, man. Okay, every component of his wickedness, to his religion, his democracy, okay, his satanic devices, to his politics, his AI, his Edomite supremacist ideals such as manifest destiny, divine edict, and now critical race theory, so forth. It's all part of that wicked covering cast of the whore America Babylon the Great, the shadow of Egypt. Okay, that's been presented as a main snare for the minds of our people to reverence the devil as if he's God, and that's why they think what he's doing is a noble thing. So even with this whole Venezuela situation, you have Jake dividing, man. Another divide and conquer tactic. Just like in slavery, you devils put the dark-skinned slaves against the light-skinned slaves. You pit Eve, the nigger woman, or our wives at that time, okay, against us, weaponize their minds to be hyper masculine. That's why they are the way they are now. That's because you made them into mammies, like female butlers, okay. Within the slave quarters, man. Okay, fulfilling, in the same category as the house niggas. That's why, Paul Mooney, I think he was a Mo, but that comedian Jake Paul Mooney made that joke where he said how, hey man, Esau, the Edomite slave masters used to make the mammies, our wives, breastfeed these Edomites. And that further lines up, man. All this secular history lines up with St. James 5:7. Okay, what was that? St. James 5:6, where it said that we wouldn't be able to resist you. Okay, what's going on over there in Venezuela regarding the Venezuela being further divided over being pro-America and representing the capture Maduro against the protesters that actually advocate support for Maduro, is further dividing them. So as I report here on Newsbreak entitled "Venezuelan Woman Burned by Pro-Maduro Forces During Protests Begs New York City Judge to Lock Up Dictator as Long as Possible." You're referring to Nero 47, man. DJT. That Elamite referred to as a modern day H to the I to the TLER, if you catch my drift. I'm not going to say the name because it make these tiny top butt hurt. And they're already shadow banning our content, removing our content. All right. Our videos, our lessons rather. So no need to give them more ammunition. But that's pretty much the point on that. That's pretty much the point, man. All right. Yeah, this is you 1 second, gotta make this quick phone call. Bear with me 1 moment, Dr. Shah. Salakiakim. All right, I'm going to bring out a few more precepts. Salaki for the little hiatus. We're going to bring in a few more precepts. I'm going to shut this thing down. I'm going to segue over to Isaiah 47. Isaiah 47. From the top, it says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." Now the Chaldeans were the warlocks of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, within the Assyrian rulership. And the modern-day Chaldeans are, this modern-day circle or coven of witches, warlocks and witches, which are the Zionist bankers, okay, that draws power from the quote-unquote 13th member, okay, which is spiritual demon Shaitan of the 13th council. All right. So it's verse 2. "Take the millstones and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers." It says, "Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man." All right, is Yahushua returning, in his full flesh, celestial glory. As for our Redeemer, so like, and it lines up with St. James 5 and 7. In St. James 5 and 4 is the Lord of Sabaoth. He's going to be the one to redeem us from the hands of the wicked, because he's the only one that can take you devils down. Verse 5, "Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt not be called the Lady of Kingdoms." Now, that's what we know. It's talking about the Zionist bankers, the rulers of the darkness of this world, because it mentioned the daughter of the Chaldeans. Okay. Not the actual Chaldeans, but the daughter of the Chaldeans, as in, similarly, the daughter of the virgin daughter of Babylon. Not talking about the ancient Babylonian Empire, okay, but rather than the mystery Babylon in Revelation 17 and 5, and aka the virgin daughter of Babylon. Babylon meaning land of confusion, so it's referring to America, because everything's out of course here in terms of righteous instruction, where the woman is above the man, as it says in Jeremiah 31 and 22. Okay, Esau promotes all manners of abominable foods, which is not food, okay, genetically modified and so forth. Okay, all manners of wickedness through sexual decadence, perverseness, through the sodomy, the whoredom is all permitted here in America, Babylon the Great. The Lady of Kingdoms, all right, which that Statue of Liberty represents. Okay, all right, originating back to the Greek, deity Libertus, which is symbolic of freedom. Freedom to be a demon. This is what America represents, the Lady of Kingdoms. "I was wrought to my people, I have polluted my inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou didst shew them no mercy. Upon the ancient has a very heavily laid thy yoke." And we are the ancient, and the righteous inheritance that you devils have polluted. Okay, that you have further polluted, and we've contributed to our own pollution by transgressing laws, statutes, commandments of Yahweh by Shemashai. So he's really the one that polluted us through the plagues. Okay, mentioned in the curses in Deuteronomy 28, verses 15 on down. Okay, his punishment, including being exiled out of the Holy Land of Jerusalem. In verse 7, "And thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever." I'm going to enlarge this. It says, and thou sayest, "I shall be a lady forever," so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. You devils didn't consider your latter end, man. Okay. Like it says in Psalm 49:11, it's within your inward thoughts that you thought your house would, it's within your inward thoughts that your houses would continue forever. Fuck you. Isaiah 47 and 8. "Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children." Verse 9. "But these two things shall come to thee in a moment of one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments." All right, which Revelation 18 chapter also echoes. Verses 6 on down. Going into how there's going to be great poverty in America, Babylon the Great. Okay, and in the aftermath of the plague of famine, pestilence, and so forth is going to be the plague of the sword. Okay. Mainly the flying swords. All right. In Isaiah 34, the nukes. Okay. In the midst of that great and notable day of Yahweh's return, that dark and gloomy day. All right. In Zephaniah 1 and 14. Hence why the great millstone is referring to Yahweh. He's going to bring that great destruction upon America, Babylon the Great, through concentrated heat from the fathership of all chariots that you devils have deceitfully declassified as UFOs and UAPs. So once again, America is going to receive overkill for being the main place of our captivity. We're finally witnessing that take place, and also the downfall of the Edomites, okay, and the salvation of our people by the hands of Yahweh Shai, the elect of our people by Yahweh Shai. So I'm ended off on that note. Pray this lesson for the edifying is ordinance to elect. Salakia that I was able to get to the precepts, for the sake of time. But the water for you Akim will see Akim lighting it up. Any of you newcomers that may be tuning in and may end up tuning in, go ahead and jot these precepts down. Very edifying. Some of which I was actually bringing out. Yep. I'll bring some of these out and close it out. The brother Yahweh put up Psalm 120 and 6. It says, my soul had long dwelt with him that hated peace. All right, verse 7 says, I am for peace, but when I speak, they are for war. All right, lines up with Psalm 55:21. He speaks smooth words. He speaks words smooth as butter, but he hides war under his tongue, man. Okay, because he's a double talker. He has ulterior motives. Brother Kawas Malak and Shalom to you, Akim, you other Akim on the comment board, all you Akim. Okay, once again, the brother Yahusab, the elder Yashawamba, the brother Kawas Malak, the brother Atazawam. Okay, see my brother, I believe the brother Malak was on here. GMS, the brother GMS Jacobs will prevail. I believe the brother out there in the ATL. And Shalom, what the water to all you. He's acquiring what Akim tuning in. Yahweh Shem Shah Barakatham, what the water. All right. The brother Kawas Malak put up Revelation 17 and 5. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. That's it. She's the mother of harlots, lines with Nahum 3 and 5. And she sells nations through her whoredoms, her witchcrafts. Okay. Through her wine of through her wine of fornication. All right, through her politics, her religion. Okay, her so-called education. The infamy of her education spoken by the wisdom of Solomon, the second chapter. Okay, referring to these devils. Okay, they're a pharmakia. All right. Now I end this off here. The brother Kawas Malak put up Isaiah 63 and 4. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. And only the Heavenly Father Yahweh knows when that's going to take place, which is very soon through these end time prophecies coming to pass. So I made it off in a note. Pray this lessons for the edifying, exhorting to elect. Give all praise and glory, infinite honor to my power, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who is the God of the living. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Baruch Badash, for bless me with the spirit of due to selection, which I praise for the edifying, exhorting to elect. And once again, double honors to the apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone for teaching well and well. Shalom, honor, salutations to Bayashid Abadah, the house of David. All right, of the 1/3 elect remnant of the nation of Israel, along with the rest of the 1/3 elect men, women, and children of Israel, scattered across the four corners of the earth. All right. Mawath Lababal, soon and very soon. And on to the next one.